down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, life is grand when you get to hang out with the people that you like, aka love, because the people that you love, they elevate you. They bring you to the next level. You may not agree with everything they eat, okay? Or the 12 years of college to be a doctor. I may not agree with that, but this guy on the other side of the world is someone that I love. He has been a wonderful friend. And if you don't know Matt Brill, go to episode 100. Yeah, we had to put him on the 100. We put him on 100 because he is 100 full on out man. He's like a true man, also an investor, also a doctor, also just very educated, very smart, and I would say savvy in my world. So that's the weird intro. But if you want to get into the really good intro, it's episode 100. So we're 500 episodes down. But let me give you another quick thing. So I met Matt at a RIA, and he was wearing scrubs that day. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And I was like, ooh, maybe potential private money. Nope, it wasn't. It was a hustler, just bought a duplex in Oklahoma City in a nice area. And he was just asking me key questions about rehab. And we connected as friends. And we've been staying in touch since you've moved on to bigger and better things. Where are you living now?
I don't know about bigger and better. Just call them different. But I'm down in South Florida, West Palm Beach.
South Florida. Now, you finished your residency, right? So you are full MD, like your name is Matt Brill, MD.
Yeah, I've been out of training for 2.5 years now.
So answer the question. So yes.
Yes.
Like, okay. And you're extremely young. How old are you?
34.
So is it awkward to like roll in as an MD and like your patients are like 70? Or
not anymore. In med school, when you're seeing patients, and I was 24, then they have some doubts, but less so now. It's also how you carry yourself a little bit.
Yeah, that was my question. Did they in doctor school? Did you have like a stature kind of way to handle yourself? I know that my wife went to medical school, and they taught her the ins and outs of insurance, like how it works. Like she'd have hours of exactly how insurance works. Do they have that, and like how to handle yourself as a doctor? Did you have a class on that, like how to walk into a room?
No, it's very in the books and data and knowledge. Not much about how to actually do your job. They kind of wait for you to figure that out yourself.
And that's what following another doctor is, shadowing.
Yeah,
right? And you figure that out when the guy walks in and he's, takes a deep breath and reads his chart. And
oh my God, there's a real person in front of me now. It's not a textbook anymore. And then they call you on your stuff sometimes, and you're forced to go with it.
All right. So everyone knows that you're a doctor. What field are you in?
I'm a radiologist.
Cool. So you do what do you like? You read scans?
Yeah. Yep. Read in X-rays and MRIs, CTs, ultrasounds. Someone else goes and acquires the image, and then they send it to me, and
then you diagnose?
Interpret it. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm not really do a lot of diagnostics.
So is this something that, we're going to get into you being an entrepreneur. I can't remember why you bought the house the first time in Oklahoma. You're from originally.
Rich dad, poor dad.
Yes. But you bought the house with what intention? Just to pay back your medical bills?
As a rental.
Right. But like, was it like a long-term asset retirement, or was it because, okay. So you were trying to build assets back in medical school.
Yeah, it was yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was in residency at the time, and I knew that I wanted my passive income to be greater than my expenses, and it was just step number one.
Now, what's it like? I mean, there's got to be a polar opposite there in the other doctors around. A lot of doctors, I mean, there's some that have investments, but they're not scrappy and not in, in the real estate arena per se. What's the conversations like with other doctors? Do you guys have conversations about assets, or is it like, hey, I'm going to go buy a new Porsche today because I'm making $400,000 a year? Like,
Uh, no, I mean, they're all kind of stuck on, you know, 401ks and stock market. So at this point, with most of them, I just avoid those conversations because they don't want to live
and
up
you
to
don't
what I
tell
have
them
to say.
either, right? You're like, hey, I'm this gangster real estate investor buying property in Mississippi, Florida. What did you buy anything in North Carolina
No,
or
no,
South
no.
Carolina? Weren't you there for a little while?
I was in South Carolina and I tried to buy a place. It just didn't work out.
Yeah, you were trying to live there. It was like downtown. I remember you call. I remember the
Yeah,
conversation that we had. Okay,
yeah.
so ladies and gentlemen, this is Matt. So he's a young guy who read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Kind of like we have the kind of a similar story. He has a wonderful family, a bloodline of very high achiever people. You have a spirit of entrepreneur in you. Would you agree with that? Is that true? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. So like the question my homie asked me was like, how does he stay focused? Because we as entrepreneurs, even me, I struggle today all over the place. How did you fight through school and how are you sustaining now? Like with controlling the entrepreneur uh, bite disease, overwhelming desire to make more
Mhm.
money, not be trapped by a job.
I mean, I guess I didn't really. I mean, it wasn't until I started reading about it and listening to podcasts that I really even knew. But I did. I grew up in a household of, go to school, get good grades, go to college, and get a job. I mean, that's how I ended up in med school. Was I knew it would be a solid job and I could support myself and the family and stuff. And then, when I got there and I realized I was going to make a good amount of money, I was like, man, this isn't the way. And I'm following these other physicians and they're working 80 hours a week. And, you see these old doctors that are walking around and you hear stories from other doctors that they don't know how to invest and they lost all of it here or they get a divorce and their money's going there and that they end up having to work for, until they're 80. And I didn't want to be a part of that. And part of the reason why I chose the radiology field is because it's a pretty good lifestyle field. And so just along the way, uh, I did get kind of the itch to be creating cash flow streams. And uh, I guess a lot of entrepreneurs do have that kind of shiny ball syndrome, and where discipline may be, or at least focusing may be an issue sometimes. But since maybe I have somewhat of an advantage coming from the other side, where I was already in the classroom for you know
20 years.
100 hours a week, so I was forced to have that discipline, or otherwise I wasn't going to graduate, I wasn't going to pass. So and I was an athlete, so I had the discipline side of me already built up since I was a kid,
So
and then mix in the entrepreneurship. And
okay, so the big thing is you said twice discipline. Okay. And I'm assuming that you know how to allocate your funds. Do you allocate your time too? Like, do you dedicate and we're going to get into your rip body here in a minute, but, but do you allocate okay, Thursdays, like walk me through it. Like, cause you're single, you're about to get married in a couple months, but do you most people, they think they've made it, they've arrived as a doctor, you're working 60 something hours. Do you still allocate time towards being an entrepreneur or allocate is it an everyday endeavor or is it when your time's off? Like walk us through how are you allocating this discipline?
well, I would guess that I work less than most people would think I do. I mean, I maybe work 38 hours a week, so I'm not always at the hospital, which makes it easier. But yeah, I mean, I still take my craft as a physician seriously, and the medical field is always changing a lot. So I can't really just let that go, or else I'll be left behind. So I do have my time outside of work that I'm allocating to become a better doctor and keep up with current knowledge. And then I have time that I allocate into just becoming a better person and improving myself. And mixed in with that is the real estate entrepreneurial game. A couple of hours a day that I'm saying, okay, I want to make myself better, and then a couple hours a day that I want to learn more as a radiologist or refresh my skills.
Okay, so this is like a daily endeavor. So like I know that you're into health and working out, and you read a lot. I mean, obviously, to be a doctor, you have to read, and you just said some amazing things that you work on your craft, and so you didn't just arrive, get your residency, and then like you just fall off the mat. So you're constantly keeping up with radiation and what's going on, the protons, and what technologies is it getting smaller and faster. Okay, so you allocate that time. Is it like predetermined? Is it like is it like a daily routine? I mean, I know your health is a daily routine. And you mentioned a couple hours on real estate. Is that a couple hours a week? Is that a couple hours a day? Or just whenever you can get to it? Is it like a burning desire? And how is that burning desire? Like, where does that come from? Because, like, I mean, you're a very disciplined dude. Like, people don't know you. So let's just this guy's ripped. He reads everything, and you're a very detailed, calculated person, and you have a high standard. Okay. You're just now getting married. Most people would have already been married by now. So, and I know you wanted to be married and your girl wanted to be married, but you had the discipline to say, wait until this. You wanted to buy that property in South Carolina, and I'm like, yeah, go do it. But you didn't do it because you had discipline. Is that like just like an outlay of what you're doing, like your goals, and you factor that in? Is it like an emotional thing? Are you following a plan, or you're making this up? I know that's a lot to say, but all right. I'm trying to dissect the heartbeat.
It's a little bit of both. It's making it up, and a lot of it's trial and error to see, what's working. If I'm getting off of work and I'm spending, 4 hours reading, and then, I'm not doing anything else, then I decided that was too much, and then maybe I back it up. But I mean, generally my goal is an hour a day reading about radiology, and then an hour a day reading about, self-improvement and entrepreneurship. And then along the way, filling stuff in if I feel I have, the space in my mind and energy to do more. I mean, I'm also, working out 5 days a week and putting an hour in the gym each of those days. So that's another other day. And there's only so many hours in the day. So I mean, I do what I can.
You have no life.
Exactly. Yeah.
What's going to happen when you have kids?
That's a good question.
I mean, how are you going to squeeze that in? And is there any non-negotiables? Like, is there like there's like I have to do this? Like, is there non-negotiable?
I would say my gym time and diet lead those two. I would forfeit.
You don't compromise.
Yeah, I would forfeit an hour reading over an hour in the gym if it's a gym day. And if I had to, I would forfeit, the hour of entrepreneur or, self-improvement reading over radiology, just because, that's my livelihood. There's, people that are depending on me to be able to do that. That's my job. And I have to do that first.
Okay. So you've distinguished the two between entrepreneur and personal development. To me, that's like one to me. Is that two to you? So you turn off in your brain. It's like, okay, real estate hustle. And then it's like, is that for you too? I'm going to work on myself, like become a better husband.
I do think that they're very intertwined, but there's some of the stuff that I'm, reading or listening to maybe more, solely on personal development versus, maybe if I'm reading something about commercial real estate or, the economy that I'm trying to apply towards my investment path in a more of a strict sense than just bettering myself.
So you're in different markets. And I'm assuming you take time to study each one of those markets before you invest in? And then is that how you approach? I mean, it seems like you approach that with everything. Like you obviously picked radiation therapy for a specific reason because you can manage your schedule or time, or I don't know what the reasons are, but my wife picked radiation as well, and she just enjoyed that aspect of it. Do you and I know you've done that with your health. We need to get into the body hacking thing or health hacking that you have really accomplished. And then do you approach your investments that way, or you're just looking for assets anywhere, or do you zone in on where you live? What parameters are you looking for now as a real estate investor?
It definitely helps where you live, just because you can see how the local market is doing by yourself. But one of the other things that I've learned is trying to use other people's time and their knowledge to springboard what I'm trying to do. So I have, based off of knowing other people, like looked at Indianapolis, because I knew Lee. And
yes, I like that market.
So I knew there, and then I knew some other people. I've also looked at the turnkey model, just because if I'm going to be out of state, I can't really be. It's much tougher for me to be finding places myself. So it end up having to rely on other people more. So I've kind of tried to focus now more on those relationships and who can I trust, rather than looking directly at the property, because it just makes it harder since I'm not really investing too much locally. It takes more time, and I don't know, South Florida is tough real estate wise.
So what's your struggles that you have being an out-of-state landlord and an investor? I mean, how often you still have the asset in Oklahoma? Okay, so now so where's your assets at now? You have in Florida?
Yeah, I have two small. I have a triplex and a duplex in South Florida. I have the duplex in Oklahoma City. I have a single-family home in Mississippi. And
why Mississippi?
It was another one of those things where I knew I had a relationship with someone that was doing it, and a recommendation that this guy, he's the one that's doing the hustle. He's finding the cheap homes, and he's rehabbing them, and he's renting them out. And it was just the relationship that to build some trust to go do it. I mean, I want to be somewhat spread out my risk. If I have too much stuff in South Florida, one hurricane could put me all vacant.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to have some sort of mix of markets and also property types in terms of single family houses and duplex, some that are going to cash flow better, some that may be better long-term play with chances of appreciation versus not.
So my first question is, in my mind, I'm like, the struggle of just organization and the struggle of maintaining those healthy relationships. And like, you can't jump. I mean, you can jump on a plane, and I mean, I'm assuming you can drive to Mississippi, but do you have any fear or stress or, like, I mean, it's sexy to sound, but I had property in Florida. So when hurricanes come through, I get a little nervous. And, I'm always I love Indiana as well. I look in Tennessee all the time. I would be all over Florida. I just don't like that hurricane insurance that you have to have, or the wind addendum. What is any of that scary, or is that just like naturally doing business? I mean, it's definitely more tax advantages for you as a doctor. I mean, you're a single doctor, so I mean, your travel could be a lot more easily allocated because they're so spread out and smart. You have friends and family in Oklahoma, I guess, and so you can write all that up. What gives you a little? Is there any of that stuff give you uneasiness? So, I mean, would you own all the way in Seattle because you like to go to Seattle and write it off, or is it really just a cash flow business model?
Yeah, I would say it's more of a business model. I mean, to me, the asset has to make sense over the emotional or whatever joy I would get out of it. Obviously, it's easier here because I'm already here, and then Oklahoma, I was there, and so I already have relationships there. Mississippi was solely an investment play because I had a relationship with someone. I was looking similarly at Indianapolis, and I just happened to find something in Mississippi before Indianapolis, so I pulled the trigger on it.
Cool.
To me, I mean, it's nerve wracking, but I just have to, I balance that with, insurance and cash reserves, because if I have the cash, then, what could really else could happen besides a bill comes up.
Now, I know you well enough. I know you're leveraging these, correct? I mean, you're not, okay. I'm like, please, I know you're not doing well as a doctor, because they're taking advantage of you on taxes. I just know that there needs to be a law that's like any pre-tax should go towards your school debt, but of course it's double tax. I don't want to get into it. So, I mean, you don't have that many advantages of taxes because you're single and you got an income coming in. Have you thought about are you maxing out like your your Roth IRA so you could use that? And then are you leveraging loans? You're just putting down the minimum? What's your strategy there on the financial side of things?
Yeah, I'm not doing any tax advantage accounts. I do use as much leverage as possible. I know you were talking about the commercial loans, but I mean, I think the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac conventional 30-year fixed rate debt is an asset in and of itself. I mean,
absolutely. But how are you getting those in different markets? Are you just like, hey, I moved to Mississippi?
No, I mean, they're happy to look at my financials and see my W-2 and my,
portfolio. Do they even look at your portfolio? Because at Fannie Mae, no, it's just
no, it's just me. Yeah.
So you're going in there getting conventional funding. So you're looking on a 30-year term. So you're cash flowing like a monster. Hopefully you're saving that money for that asset. That's what you're talking about, your cash reserves. Okay.
Yep. My Oklahoma City duplex did pretty well. I mean, I bought it in 2016 and rehabbed it. And so I had 110 in it and got it appraised a few months back for 180. Right. And so I put a HELOC on it. It got me $75K. So bought 2 homes with it and have still some $20,000 in the HELOC just to back me up.
That's awesome. So you're a real investor in my mind. Okay. And I'm not tooting your horn here, but so let me get this straight. You're using the refinance money or the HELOC money, not refinance, to buy more assets. So you basically have no money in the game, but your original seed money, if you needed it back then, because you have that on a conventional loan, right? In 2006. Yes. So you probably had to put down some cash at that time. So technically you refinance, you could take that cash out because you have that $20,000 now sitting there. So basically you have created a real estate empire of starts with no money. But except for once you refinance so 2006, you closed the property, had some advantages, some tax advantages, and then you refinance out. How long ago was that?
Well, I bought the property in 2016, so we're only three years ago.
Oh, so 3 years. Okay, 16, not 6. Okay,
yeah.
So 2016, and then you refinance 3 years later.
And then just a few months ago.
Okay, so 3 years total of what your original investment was. You got your original investment back. Well, actually, you do because it's on the HELOC. Mm-hmm. And then now you took that 60,000 and rolled it over to these other assets.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to write a book about that. I mean, a lot of people just don't understand, like, that's how it works. If you have that mindset in the beginning, I was trying to teach a young investor yesterday. He's like, yeah, I got this house as it appraised for 110. I can get $50,000 cash. I'm like, listen, you can get the cash, but you cannot use it for anything else but only buying more assets. And I think a lot of people just think it's a savings account. I'm like, bro, it's not a savings account just in case you need a water heater, because that just doesn't make sense. You're paying you're paying interest on borrowed money. Okay, that's cool. Mm-hmm. And you have an advantage to, you can deduct your interest, but you need to use that money to buy more assets, nothing less, because then you'll just be in a vicious cycle.
Yep.
And obviously you have a decent income, so you're okay. But do you have any student loan debt? Right? I mean,
yeah, just a little bit.
Like to the tune of 200 or
a little more than that.
Okay. So there's a guy. I mean, do you know Mike Odell?
Yeah.
Okay. And so he's working this super hustle where he stays at the hospital for 10 years and then
Yeah.
his loans are expunged. Is that a game that you're considered?
I considered it. There are some stipulations to it. One is
Staying
that
at
it
the
has to
same
be,
hospital. Yeah, right. Sorry.
it can be any hospital, but it has to be a non-for-profit. So, I was in training for 6 years. So I had 6 years in a non-for-profit system. So I had 6 years towards it. But then I would have had to go to a non-for-profit for another 4 years to have my loans forgiven. But in giving that up, I'm giving up salary. I could have gone and worked for, a VA or some little small hospital somewhere, but I was giving up at least $100,000 a year in salary. In those 4 years, I would have had
Cool.
my paycheck decreased by 100,000.
That's why I like
I could
you.
have paid off the loans anyway.
That's why I love you. Because that's where people go wrong. You got to put I'm working on health insurance right now for my family. I'm like, you got to run those scenarios. I think a lot of people just think that this is the best thing to do because it's free money. It's really not free money when you're losing money in this thing called opportunity cost. Now,
Yeah.
You're in a better place at this specific moment. Aren't you in the state that you want to be in, right? Florida is
Yeah,
a beautiful place. Yeah.
Yeah, tax-free or no state income tax. Also,
It's landlord friendly. It's for
Yeah.
landlord friendly. The laws there for landlords are freaking phenomenal.
It's a great business state. You all should move here.
When I retire, I love Oklahoma. I don't know why. I got children. You'll see, man, your life is about to change, homie. So you're going to get married in March. Like 6 months later, she's going to get pregnant. I'm telling you, man. Yeah. Okay, buddy. You'll see. I don't even today at 2:00 is like some kind of recital. She's playing a trombone in some band somewhere that, at 5th grade. And anyway, I'm just fortunate that I'm able to do that, you can live the lifestyle that you've wanted. So let's get into this super healthy. So I haven't seen you physically until a year ago, like 8-9 months ago. And all of a sudden you're like super ripped, and it was just hysterical. So ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about what happened. So once a year I get with a few men, maybe a girl or two. I'm not a big fan of females. No offense, ladies. I'm just saying, because I got to watch what I say around ladies. So not to be disrespectful. Women are great. We have to. Okay, let's stop there. So we're having this meeting, and I randomly invited Matt, and Matt's like, okay, and he's on the East Coast, and we did this event on the East Coast, and Matt just shows up out of nowhere with the super body, like all lean, like 0%, 0.0% body fat. And so at this event, everyone needs to speak on something. So of course I'm the savvy landlord, I'm somebody special. So when I speak, everybody loves me and wants to have nope, Matt Brill took the stage. To this day, people still talk about Matt Brill and his health hacking presentation and they're still talking about the Matt Brill health presentation. It doesn't matter. I help people become millionaires, but your body is well worth $1 billion. So it's just interesting. You think about it, like, I'm teaching life-changing, become a millionaire, change your life. Life is great. I'm going to show you how to make millions. Matt's over here. Okay, I'm a doctor, but let me show you how to hack your body. And I was a young vegan at the time, and so let's go into that. How did you get into this space of really, are you still in ketones? And you spent way too much research on your own. And go into that for us. Cause there really is, I did not know this. Seriously, guys, after Matt spoke, I swear the last 2 days were all about health. It was really cool because a lot of people are diabetic and a lot of people are overweight and a lot of people have just let their body go into the toilet. And I saw a lot of people have hope, Matt, just hanging around you, just talking to you. You were such an inspiration. And of course, I'm clueless. I'm on my own plan. I'm like, I'm trying to be rich. I'm trying to be, I'll run a marathon. I'll be healthy that way. What got you on that journey of really dialing in on your body and being healthy, and how'd that happen? And then give us some tips and tricks, because I didn't know it was so powerful for so many people.
Yeah, sure. Well, I was an athlete for most of my life, at least up. I played college baseball. I played a year pro, and then I went to med school. So I already had to have, somewhat working knowledge of nutrition and health just to be able to keep myself, in the game.
Yeah.
And then, so I was already interested in it. And then, I was going to med school and it was going to be making some money. And I was just thought that, what's the difference of having a lot of money and, being comfortable if I'm not healthy?
I always say you can't be fat and rich.
Yeah. I mean,
because it just sucks. Because you can't get up some stairs. I mean, side note: have you read the book or heard the book called "Finding Ultra" by Rich Roll?
I have not.
Dude, I'll send it to you today. It's a phenomenal. He hacks his body like you. All right, keep going. So, you knew in your mind, being a doctor.
I was trying to think of the end in mind. What's going to make me happy in 50 years, and at that point, I'm probably not going to be working as much. So, as much as I do enjoy my job, it's not going to be there forever, and I don't want it to be there forever. But it's going to be doing things and being with family and spending time with people. So, what are the things that I have to do to be happy at that point? And one of those is being healthy. You can't be sitting on the couch all day if you want to be running around with your grandchildren. And if you want to be traveling the world and doing all these exciting things, if your legs don't work, you're not going to be hiking up Everest. Not that I want to hike up Everest, but I want to be able to. So I tried to kind of backwards engineer what I wanted to be like, and I didn't want to give myself any excuses.
You just blow my mind because every other millennial, because you're considered a millennial, right?
Yeah.
They don't think like that. What kind of people did you hang out with in high school? Just athletes. And then when you went to medical school, these millennials just want to make money and experience life. You want that too, but I don't think a lot of people want the level of discipline. So you're just visionary, I guess, in the end of mind.
No, I just listen to other people. I try to associate with people that I want to emulate or be like, and I don't really have those people in person, but there's some people with podcasts or certain books that I do look up to, and I do respect what they say, and so I just follow them. So even though it's not in person, mentors of sorts.
So you made a decision that your end game, the future of your life, I say that your grandchildren. And so did you just dive into it and was there a defining moment where okay, especially being a medical professional, there seems like such an array of, I wouldn't say false information, it's just so much opinionation. And
yes,
we can rationalize everything. Protons are better than, radiate. Blah, 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 blah. Everyone has an opinion. What made you decide to dive into that on the health side?
I did have an exposure coming through the medical community. Although physicians are by no means as a whole great at nutrition, we are taught the basics of nutrition. Then just after that, people choose to forget it or not go with it. But also with that, I knew how to read an article, a scientific journal, and be able to analyze it and say, is this accurate, or is this data what they're trying to interpret the data to mean? Are they taking some extra leaps that aren't making sense, or is
or where's it funded from? Where is it funded from? A lot of this medical journals have been funded by the companies that want to pass, carnage and stuff.
Yeah, and you see these sensationalized headlines about this is not good for the people. Study comes out that shows red meat causes cancer. That's the New York Times saying it. The New York Times doesn't know anything about scientific studies. They just want to get some readers. So they cite it. I go look at the journal, and it's sometimes not based off of.
Okay, hold on.
What was actually?
Hey, we got messed up there. So you New York Journal, the New York Journal is where we stopped, and then you went to go start there. So you went to start you went to cite the information. So New York Journal cites the information, and then you research it, and then you decipher if it's authoritarian for you.
Yeah. Is it legitimate? Like, is what they're saying based off of the information that they found in whatever study it was, or maybe it wasn't even a study. Maybe it's just some person who's giving their opinion.
Mm.
And is it legitimate? Should I be implementing this into my knowledge and into myself and into my patients?
Okay. So then what made you, okay. So you've just been following the headlines, and then you were just trying to, you just started dialing in even more, digging in. And then you started testing yourself, right? I mean, there were some products that you brought to the Full Throttle that was really interesting, the Athletic Greens.
Yeah.
And how'd you find that product?
I found that through someone who kind of also does this health stuff. I mean, in a much bigger way than I do. And he recommended it. And so in situations like that, when I'm going to go away and I know I'm not going to get, certain nutrition that I normally would want to, or I'll supplement that to my diet. And other things like that. I mean, it's just constantly listening to things. You just come across more information. Reading a book, you'll get a nugget here. You listen to podcasts, you get a nugget there. Or you hear an interview with somebody and you like what that person has to say, so you kind of go follow what they're saying to see what maybe they have stuff to add. And I just kind of start putting it all together to make something that works for me or that I think makes sense.
Okay. So what are you doing now? So what's the consensus in your, now this has been a whole year since I saw you.
Mm-hmm.
What worked, what didn't work? What do you recommend? And of course, this is AKA, when we give a disclaimer, you didn't hire Matt. You can't sue him if you take these Athletic Greens. Okay. He's a human being. This is a non-responsible podcast. We're just boys talking about getting ripped. That's all we want to do. So, I mean, you're working out 5 times a week. I mean, resistance strength, right? Weights and free weights and Nautilus. Okay. And then what's your food intake, and what are you doing on that stuff?
So the biggest thing right now, and where there's a lot of research going into it and a lot of promising stuff, is on fasting. And I was doing it a year ago too, and I'm still sticking with that. So 2 different types of, call it fasting. One is time restricted feeding, where every day I'm taking 16 or more hours that I'm not eating. So I have a window each day that I allow myself to eat, an 8-hour window. So between 10 a.m., between 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. is when I allow myself to eat. Everything else up until that is water only.
So 2 p.m. to
10 p.m.
10 p.m. you can eat. Is there a certain calorie intake, caloric?
Now, I do limit my carbohydrate intake. So between, when you have 8 hours, there's only so many meals you're going to get in. So really, I have 2 big meals, and then I might have a snack in between. But my first meal of the day, there is no carbs, no starches. So I mean, I'll have salad or protein or vegetables, and that's it.
So a normal American diet, people eat in the morning, which is 7 or 8, and then they eat at 6 o'clock. That's more than 8 hours. Is that? And why do you do it from 2? Is it because your body burns more fuel in the morning? Is there a strategic plan for that?
Yeah.
And why do you pick that time?
Yeah, I do the 2 to 10. One, because I do think that the body, when you're on a fast, the further you get into it, the more fat your body is burning. And so to me, it's those times work better for me. I mean, you could move that window up or back, but that window was the best for me. I've heard some people think that maybe a little bit of an earlier window than that might be more beneficial.
Like a noon to 8 or something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
it's about hormones. So it's insulin. People talk about glucose and carbohydrates being bad, which in and of themselves, they're not what's bad.
Have you read the book Obesity Code?
Yes.
Okay, because you're getting into the insulin, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the insulin that's bad, and it's the insulin effect caused by the carbohydrates, the glucose, that can really cause some damage. And insulin is a hormone, and it's a hormone that you need. But when it's too much, you end up with these adverse effects: Alzheimer's disease, cancer, diabetes, heart disease. If you're having too much of it, and that's what having too much sugar does. So I'm trying to decrease my amount of insulin, and my insulin spikes.
Now the insulin too could come from fake drinks, correct? Because your body doesn't know; it just tastes the sweet. Is that what happens, and then the insulin fires off?
Less so. So the majority of the insulin is when your body senses in the bloodstream that there is sugar. So there are these.
Could be carbs, right?
Yeah.
Carbs.
Mm-hmm. So there are carbohydrate products out there that are not absorbed by the gut. And if they're not absorbed by the gut after you eat them, they don't go in your bloodstream, so they don't cause an insulin spike. So, and that's the same thing with vegetables. Vegetables are fiber; they're insoluble. They don't get absorbed into the bloodstream, so they don't really cause a problem. But all carbs or vegetables are all carbs. There's no protein. A little bit of protein, and there's no fat per se. But it's the insulin that gets into the blood, or the carbohydrates that get into the bloodstream, that is causing the insulin spike.
So have you been testing this for a long time? Like, do you have like your own physical data? Like, that it's a too sugar and rich carb diet that you have, you felt sluggish, or, are you, what have you been receiving from this? Is it more energy? Obviously, I guess. And you're doing this because, I know you're not the kind of guy that's like trying to cheat the system. Like, I just don't like that people like, I'm on a keto diet, because they really don't want to put the work in. They really don't want to read, and they just,
let me tell you, keto diet is tough. It's a lot of work. And I think there are some merits to it. And I do it here and there.
Well, I just don't like when people say like they've tried, nothing works. And you know what I'm saying? Okay.
Yeah, I get you.
But I know I've never seen you. I have known you long enough that you're not that type of guy that's going to chase a fad. And now, the store shelves are flooded with keto everything. It's like the new, it's sex instead of sex. It's keto. It's on every single it's on gum, keto gum. Are you serious? But it's out there. It's just, I'm like, we're just as a society, and you're very rare, man. You're in the 0.0%. You're on this other side of the fence where we have all these lemons that we're all following one thing, and I guess it's on the Slim Fast diet plan now. I can take ketos. What is this? Do you like to be rebellious? Do you like to be not the average? Is this something that's just always been as a child?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're a ball player. That's rare.
I don't really view it as not being the average. I just do what I want more. So I'm not going to do something just because someone else is doing it. I'm science backed. I want to see some science. I want to see some proof of concept before I'm just going to do something. And that's the one thing about, fasting and this time restricted eating, and, even keto, that there's actually some science behind it to say these are some, endpoints that are possible. Ketogenic diets have done some wonders for kids with epilepsy. Cured them.
So does CBD. No, I was just playing.
The fasting, fasting we give for cancer patients, we make them fast, before they're going to get chemotherapy, because the chemotherapy is so tough on your body that the fasting, 24 to 72 hours before, can decrease your symptoms from chemotherapy by, a lot. And it could, some people, there's some research out there showing that fasts can even, cure cancer. If you have full blown cancer, it's not going to do anything, but you're walking around with a few cancer cells in your body at any given time, any given day.
Chokes it out. Because it doesn't have nutrients. It doesn't live.
Exactly.
I guess cancer lives on sugar, insulin. I've read that once before. Yep. Of course, everything I read, I'm like very skeptical to. Yep. All right. So, dude, you're a very impressive person. So this gal out there, good luck, girl, because you marry it up. I was just like, And the reason why I say that is because I'm like, the biggest burning question I have is like, dude, who influences you? I mean, you're like this Lone Ranger. I mean, I know you got a great brother and you got a great family, but I mean, like, dude, like you are leading so many people, not as a doctor alone in your profession, just hopefully through this podcast. What influences you? Like, what gets your motor running? Is it because you solved the problem that's been ailing, like here's a problem I have today. I'm like calling a friend on my way to work. I was like, this is ridiculous, this health insurance. It's my part with Obamacare is $400 a month, but then Obamacare is paying $1,000. So let me get this straight. We're paying $1,400 for insurance. And last year I did not have insurance. My total outlay for my kids and myself. Now, of course, we had nothing major. It was only $700 because we were self-paying. So compared to with the government's helping me, it's like, I mean, it's just like, how do you solve this problem, right? So what influence, I mean, that just drives me crazy. Is that like, and then you just start digging into it? Is there a book that you've read? Is it another doctor? Is it like when you guys get together at break time and have a few cigarettes, you guys are like, hey, I love it when I see doctors have cigarettes. It's just epic. Like, what but like, what influences you? Like, is it your dad? Like, hey, did you read that journal this week, bro? I mean, like I got friends that influence me in real estate. Like, did you kill that deal? Did you get that deal? Yeah. All right. How'd you finance that deal? I mean, that's influence. Iron sharpens iron. I mean, to me, you seem like you're the black sheep of the medical world. I mean, nobody invests. No one self-disciplines. No one has your body. I tried to get you married like 4 years ago. You're like, no. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, how does this happen? Like, who, where are you getting this? I mean, like, what YouTube channel are you on? I mean, what books have, like, just like, help us? Because like a lot of people are not going to believe you because they can't see you. And a lot of people are skeptical. They don't even trust me, which is fine. But like, let them do their own research. How do you dig into stuff? How do you find it? I mean, Google, I don't know.
Well, it's I mean, for me, it's all about finding the experts and then so it's hard. I mean, you gotta to be able to.
You said that earlier.
Trust. So. Yeah. So I mean, there are a couple people who I mean, I don't know, but like, Tim Ferriss podcast, like I have a level of trust and confidence in what he puts out, that he has something to lose if he's putting out something that's bad, and that he's doing some research and fact checking behind the scenes. And there's him, and there's like another physician named Peter Attia who does the same type of thing. And he actually has a medical practice based on it, where he's helping other people with, being healthy and living longer and living healthier. So I've focused on them, and then, and they're the one who then find experts from there. And then when they find an expert and it's something that is, feeds what I'm interested in or what I'm trying to do, then I'll go search for them.
I was going to say Timothy Ferriss earlier, and but I didn't, I think it's a compliment. I mean, you are, to me, my Timothy Ferriss. So, which I love the guy. Like, 4-hour work week changed my life. And like back then, when you're uneducated and you get that book, you're like, when you reread it, you're like, man, why aren't everybody doing this? It's like Rich Dad Poor Dad. 34 million copies sold. Why isn't there more people rich? Okay, now I got some of my own questions. Why aren't you a vegan?
Why aren't I? So vegan comes back to the
loaded gun.
It comes back to the issue of science.
Have you seen the movie Game Changer?
Yeah. So that's the one where they have the quotes or the references that scroll across the screen. Is that right?
It's the 4 kids. They did the blood test before they went to bed on that one. That protein. Where does the cow get their protein from? They eat grass. They eat foliage. That's where they get their protein. You're eating a cow to get the protein that's already there. Mm-hmm. That movie. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger's in it.
No, I haven't seen it, but in that one, do they have like references from articles?
Probably not.
No.
It's probably glamorized. But I mean, so the point is personally, like, okay, you're a doctor, you health hack, you know about vegetables, you know about protein, you know about complex carbs. Why do you still eat meat? Because there's so much like research on that is not, there's carcinogens in meat, bacteria in meat. Why do you eat meat?
Well, I mean, that goes back to that research. And I think if you look at those, where it came from and what,
Okay.
what is their data backing it, that epidemiologic, which is when you're studying, incidence of things in society, that those studies are very hard to do well. That it's very hard to have this equals this in those studies. So there's just a lot of flaws to where what they're trying to say it's not really true. It's not false, but they haven't proved anything. So for the amount of protein I intake, if I were going to be eating no meats, I'd have to be eating all day. And
okay.
I don't think that there's, obviously, are there carcinogens in meat? Yes, there's carcinogens in me. There's carcinogens in
you. I love it. You're a walking cancer ball.
There's carcinogens in the plants, but what makes a cancer to a plant doesn't make a cancer to a person. What makes a cancer to a cow doesn't make it cancer to a person. And just because, you can consume cancer, but it doesn't mean you get cancer. The cancer is, it's complex. It's your DNA changing, and there just hasn't been a good study to say that actually happens. That red meat, the whole red meat increases your blood pressure. It was, proven false. Red meat doesn't increase your blood pressure.
There's so much propaganda out there, man. It's just scary. Like you can't. I don't know, man. I'm bummed about it in general. Like you can't. I don't believe in anything like dairy. Like,
all right, if you want to read something good, and it's not very long, it's called Studying Studies.
Studying Studies. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a book. It's a blog post on a physician's website. It's like 5 parts, and it's how to read a study. So then, and he breaks it down and makes it pretty simplified. You don't have to be some sort of scientist to understand it, but he makes it simple. And so then if you see something and you're like, man, I don't believe that, or even if you say, wow, that sounds great, I want to make sure it's true, you can look at the study, look at where they wrote up what they did, and then you'll have something to look at it against to say, okay, now that I see this, you can make your own educated opinion.
I wish we all did that in life.
We should, yeah, we should.
Well, dude, that's a very powerful point, because we just take it's called limiting belief syndrome. We just take everything at face value, that we should trust the legal system because it's there, or we're trusting every food that's on the shelf, but they're trying to make money, so they got preservatives in there that, or I love in the United States of America, dye red number 9 or dye 10 is illegal in Europe, but it's completely fine in every Gatorade drink today. But what's their motive behind it? I like that. So study a study. Say it again. Studying Studies. Okay.
I can text it to you, and you can.
And then I'll put it out on. I'll put it, if you give it to me. I'll put it on this podcast, so it'll be in the notes in the description. So Matt, we're gonna wrap up right here, big dog. I appreciate your time. And is there any way that someone get a hold of you? Like someone's gonna like you. I don't know why, but they don't like you. Like when you spoke, that's what, just so you know, I made you the last speaker because I thought you were gonna have this boring presentation. Like who the hell wants to talk about health? Like, and you spoke, and I can't remember. It was like that was all we talked about for 2 days straight was Matt Brill. And you were having like coaching sessions on the side. It was epic. Like, I'm like, yes, that's what masterminds are for. You just never know. Like, the Timothy Ferriss book, the 4-Hour Work Week really, I could tell at the certain time of someone's life, it could impact them. Like, no, you don't have to live a 40-hour work week. No, you should be getting paid for results, not being paid for time. Results matter more than time. So, we're going to wrap it up. What other, I know this is supposed to be the real estate podcast, whatever. We're about life. What have you learned through this process? Only 36 years old. You got a wife ahead of you. You got a great things, kids on the way, hopefully. Name them Steven or Savvy. What advice, what's one thing that really stuck out at you? What would you have done anything different? School was fine. You know, I know this is going to be maybe on the next episode, we're going to get together, because I think schooling is an important hot topic in my world with my young children and prepping them for school or no school. What advice would you give someone out there that's just at your stage? You know, they're in school, they're in college, or they're struggling and they want to quit. What would you say to them? What advice?
Yeah, I mean, it's always tougher when you're in it. Like, I'm not sure if given another chance, if you asked me if I would go to med school again, I'm not necessarily sure the answer would be yes.
Well said. Sorry. I'm so excited. I still would like you if you did or not.
Yeah, but I mean, just the point being that you got to make sure that you're enjoying what you're doing, because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then it's going to be not enjoyable when you're successful either.
That's cool.
The path is the way.
You know, it's cool. It's like, I know it's cliche, but you know, you made your bed, live in it. You know, you made these decisions, stick through them, make them happen. And I think if we take that type of responsibility with our health, we wouldn't have this epidemic.
Yeah, but I enjoy working out. I enjoy reading, so it makes it enjoyable for me. And it might not be enjoyable for the next person, but then you start seeing some results, and then all of a sudden you get much more excited.
Cool. All right, man. That's such a pleasure. Oh, do you have a phone number? Not a phone number, or an email?
Yeah, I can
give out your email. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Brilliant, BRILLIANT REIS @gmail.com.
Brilliant RES. Fantastic.
REIS.
REIS. Gmail. All right, bro. I appreciate your time, and I'll follow up with you again. Have a great day.
All right, man. Thanks. Great talking to you.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
What is the Savvy Boot Camp? Are you struggling to get to the next level as a business owner? As an investor? Do you want to multiply your income? Sign up for the Savvy Boot Camp, a strategic and supercharged one-night and one-day event designed to shortcut your learning process and propel you forward. Just value, no upsells, and an intimate setting to build relationships with like-minded investors. We will be covering how personality profiling can make you a millionaire, outsourcing and the nitty-gritty of maximizing your property management, scaling your business through systems and automation, technology hacks you should be using every day, and how to raise private money. Go to www.savvybootcamp.com now to register or to find out more.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter @LandlordBook and always be buying assets.